finding different ways of speaking and walking on. I've been really lucky. I've got to do a lot of accents, and accents are really fun because they really change. If you change your accent, you change the way you speak to people. You know, your whole. It's not just the word. It's not just the words you say or the accent in which you say them, the intonation. It's also how you address people. You know, my girlfriend doesn't like living with Matt Murdock because he's so blunt. You know, he just says exactly what he thinks. And,
you do any other accents other than?
I mean, I was to train. You have to get an accent. You have to train. I was on that show Boardwalk Empire for a couple of years. And 11 people watched that. And I had to play a Northern Irish guy, and that's a tricky accent to do, but it was really, really fun. But the interesting story about that is I went to Northern Ireland, I spent a lot of time, and I really got the accent really down. And then I got on set, no way. And he said, do it. And I got on set, it's been too long. Yeah, I got on set and I did the first take of the first scene, and all the producers were looking at me like this. And I was like, what's going on? They said, that doesn't even sound like English. So I had to tone it down a great deal so people can understand. Wow. They were like, hey, they were like, we're gonna have to subtitle it.
Now, I think it's more fascinating to hear Brits, imitate our accents. I mean, typically we don't know an actor on TV is British until they show up at conventions or hear interviews, and we say, "What the hell?" But we get a lot of actors, British actors, foreign actors who can interpret our accent very well. But vice versa, it's usually more difficult. I can never do a British accent.
Well, it's very, we're lucky, the Brits and the Australians and other English-speaking nations around the world. We're very lucky because we grow up with American television. We grow up with American films. So we get the opportunity to, we're subconsciously, we're taking it in from a very, very early age. I mean, now maybe there'll be a generation of actors who can do very posh English accents because they've been watching Downton Abbey non-stop. But I think that's one of the things that we have that you guys don't. Is that I don't think there's as much great American TV and film, English TV and film as there is Americans.
Well, we practice from Doctor Who, and I think. Where are we on this side? Who are we back? Okay.
You obviously do different portrayals between Matthew Murdock and Daredevil physically, but you seem to also make those choices in your speech patterns and just the personality in general. Can you talk some about how you make different choices between portraying Matthew Murdock, attorney, and Daredevil when it comes to their personality?
Yeah, really good question as well. So initially, we talked about the Daredevil before he was even really Daredevil. Matt in the black vigilante, the vigilante Daredevil. We like the idea that he had, all kind of alcoholic tendencies, not with drinking, but in terms of he'd put on that suit, and his intentions were good. But something would happen when he put that suit on, and he'd get wrapped up in what he was doing, and he'd find it, there's a little bit of a sinister side to him that really enjoys the violence, enjoys because it's on bad guys only. And so it was almost like he knew he was going to go out and he was going to make a difference. He knew he was going to bring some bad guys down, but he couldn't guarantee what time he was going to get home, how long he'd be out. He'd have that first drink and all bets were off, right? In terms of his speech patterns, for so much of the first season and the second season, he's trying, he's in a way he's trying to hide who he is. He doesn't want to be recognized, and so the way he was written, and this wasn't me, this was in the writing. He was written in short, sharp sentences. He would say things like, "Give me a name. Where's the guy? Who are you?" Like 3 or 4 words at a time, and all of them kind of, interrogating kind of sentences, aggressive interrogating sentences. And I didn't really try and do it any differently. I just there's only really one way that that kind of acting can come out of you. But the problem was that, like, a lot of early on the producers would say to me, "You're starting to sound like Batman." And I was like, and I really wasn't attempting to do that. But I understand how easy it is to do that, because it's very hard to say things like "give me a name" in a threatening, aggressive fashion as a normal voice. It didn't sound right to me. It sounded, if you threaten someone, you want to be like, "give me a name," So that was constantly like a battle I was having, was to try and make it, Matt, try and make it sound like Matt, but also do the job within the scene, which is to force the person that you're holding by the collar to tell you what you want to know.
Yeah. It's like police officers saying, "Hey, can you give me a name, please?" As opposed to a vigilante, you want to try.
But also, when you're holding someone up like that, all your muscles in your body are tensing, so it does something to your voice.
Adrenaline kicks in, you sound like that.